task force. I would first like to introduce to you the task force uh, vice or chair pro tem, who is Nancy Yap. She was elected at their August 27th meeting. Ms. Yap is the executive director of CAUSE, the Center for Asian Americans United for Self-Empowerment, which works to advance civic engagement of Asian and Pacific Islanders. She has run small businesses in telecommunications and artist management. At the Leadership Education for Asian Pacifics, she was Vice President of Development. She has also served as a neighborhood council president and is still active in the Little Tokyo area. So welcome, Nancy, and we are delighted that you have agreed to be here with us and are eager to hear your take on what's going on with the Government Reform Task Force. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me here. I know that I will be presenting today with Gabriela, and so would welcome you also introducing Gabriela as well so that we can have this conversation together. But love being here. Thank you everyone for having both of us here and looking forward to this conversation.
Very good. Gabriela Gironas is a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree and a leading voice at the intersection of music, tech, and the creative economy. Their career spans powerhouse brands of YouTube, Reddit, Fender, Resource, and Q&A, and mission-driven organizations like Key Change USA. They serve as the Senior Director of Creative Strategy at Wasserman, where they led creative strategy for brands such as Google Play, Taco Bell, Pinterest, and Samsung. Beyond their main work, they launched a flagship development program for female, trans, and non-binary creatives. They also hold the role of Global Chair Diversity and Inclusion and Community at Women in Music. So welcome to our event today, Gabriela, and we are delighted to hear from both of you.
Thanks for having us, Margo. I appreciate the time here. Appreciate the space, everyone. And with that, I'm just going to start displaying our screen little here for our presentation. But Margo, I just want to make sure, is there anything else before we get started? All good. Perfect, folks. Well, I'll kick it off a little bit, but as Margo very kindly read my bio, my name is Gabriela Gironas. My pronouns are they, them. I am a member of Los Angeles County. My background is predominantly in marketing and strategy and local activism and such. And I'm here as a citizen in Los Angeles as part of this task force after being selected as a at-large member to basically represent the community of Los Angeles that is less involved with their local government and knows less about what's happening in the community. What I feel very proud of as being a representation in this task force is as an individual that is very passionate about the work we're doing here from the lens of folks and trying to reach folks under the age of 35, basically, that might not be as involved in their local government or understand what's going on as much. So within that, we'll dive a little bit more into your presentation today. But before that, I'd love to create space for my colleague Nancy to talk a little bit more of themselves as a human before we dive in.
Thank you, Gabriela. Hi, everyone. So wonderful to be here and just be able to share a little bit about our work. I know for us, we've been diving into Measure G and all of the tasks in front of us, I would say, as we build it. And I think it's been such an amazing journey to work with a task force that is both passionate about it and also so experienced and brings so much perspective in everything we do. For me, so much of getting into this work really comes from a curiosity around what are the ways things could be better. I really enjoy the imagining of it. I'm also an at-large appointee, and so I think for me also just really appreciative of our colleagues who were the first 5 appointed by the supervisors who read all the applications, interviewed many of us, and I do feel very honored to have been part of the group that was selected. I do a lot of work in the Asian and Pacific Islander representation space, but I say that because I think so often I go to things where we have not yet been at the table, including Board of Supervisors meetings. And being able to hear and engage in such impressive conversations and so many difficult conversations, and just wishing there were more perspectives from our diverse communities, especially with having so many APIs in LA County. And so I think it was really important to me to remember the communities I bring with me, to be sure that as we go into these processes with curiosity, that there is also space for our communities to have a voice, to share what they would like to see, and for them to be part of imagining how LA County can also change and be more effective for those of us who live here. So very much the spirit of which I approach the work, and looking forward to the rest of this conversation. So I'll hand it back over to Gabriela.
Thank you, Nancy. Just to dive a little bit into it today, what we're going to be going over, if I go to the next slide here, is a Measure G overview, a little bit talking about how did we get here, basically, what is our duty as government's reform task force members, board powers, modifications and expansion, an explanation of new positions as a result of Measure G, Independent Ethics Commission and Compliance Office. I know this is particular interest for the league as well, so excited to hear some of the questions or thought processes later on in the conversation. The Charter Review Commission, other changes that was as a result of Measure G as well. A bit of our info, website and email that Margo so kindly said at the beginning, but if you happen to miss that, we'll have that available at the end of the presentation as well. And a little bit of public engagement. We just wanted to use this opportunity to engage you as a community and being able to take that information and bring it up to the rest of our colleagues. At the end of it, and I think Nancy so noted this well, we are a conduit for the community of Los Angeles's opinions and visions and needs, and we would love to be able to bring as much of that feedback to our colleagues and executive office as possible. So within that, a bit of that Measure G overview, I promise. So Measure G amended the county charter to restructure Los Angeles government, including an elected county executive, a 9-member board of supervisors. As a reminder, we have 5 board of supervisors at the moment. New positions such as a legislative analyst, ethics compliance officer, director of budget and management, independent ethics commission, an office of ethics compliance, a charter review commission, and of course, the governance reform task force that we're part of here today. This is basically outlines in the most simplest way possible what the Measure G overview is. And we'll go over a little more in depth as far as positions and what all of these mean as the rest of the presentation goes on. Once again, just to shout out Margo at the beginning, if you have questions, please put it in the Q&A. That's going to be helpful for us to organize a little bit towards the end. And if there are certain questions that you feel particularly passionate about, use the upvote feature and such. Also, I've done a lot of these Zoom things, so apologies for helping a little bit on the technical aspect too on explaining things. But if we go to the next slide, what is the Governance Reform Task Force and what are our duties? So as far as the GRTF, as we shorthand call it, our establishment and responsibilities lie in 2 main buckets. The Measure G directed the Board of Supervisors to establish a government's reform task force, e.g. GRTF, which is a body of 13 individuals from all walks of life. I think Margo actually said this at the beginning really well, but between labor at large and appointed members from the Board of Supervisors themselves. We were meant to convene with the GRTF 180 days after their certification and vote adopting a Measure G. So which has happened with a few meetings now under our belt that you can see on our website in recorded form. And then for Measure G and boards, 1126 motion in 2024 required the GRTF to lead a robust community and stakeholder outreach. This is imperative and paramount to the success of our work here, is being able to be part of communities like yourselves and also being able to bring along all walks of life and feedback as far as the 10 million people in Los Angeles. Provide recommendations to the board on how to carry out the effects of Measure G and use existing county fund sources and offset implementation costs with savings. This is our bread and butter of how we do this work. It is not done without the community involved, let alone being able to have our role as conduits once again and raising up feedback, thoughts, opinions, and great schools of thought to help make this county more transparent for our local government. And going into a little bit more in depth on the very first point I mentioned in the last slide, as far as our county executive. Um, I will also start by saying this is probably one of the most contested issues in our in our colleagues group, because I think we all have very differing opinions on it. But just to lay it out what it is, the implementation framework of this county executive is by December 4th of 2028, or as soon as the county executive office assumes. So a summary of what this individual is an established office of county executive. That elected executive will be part of have a 4-year term, exercise all county executive and administrative powers, appoint and supervise all department heads except elected officials, legal analysts, and clerk of the board. And for the gravity of this as well, we were in a meeting this past week where a county council had made us a wonderful chart about it, and it's around 31 direct reports as it stands right now. Develop and submit a county annual budget to the board, and have veto authority over budget amendments by the board, subject to board override by 2/3 vote within 7 days, excluding weekends, holidays, of veto. And then lead and direct county's emergency response system. And per that 1126 motion, like I mentioned earlier, the GRTF is to consider staffing and budget proposal of the county executive's office and reorganize options that include newly created positions, including that staffing and budgeting. We're very, very, very early on in this particular process of it. As like I mentioned, this is a very lot of schools of thought on the county executive, and we really implore you all to share your perspective and opinion on this, because I think that's only going to help us as we get into these discussions with the rest of our colleagues. And diving into it a little bit more, board expansion and power modifications. So when we're talking about this, the modified board powers are, and just to make sure everyone's grounded in the timeline, if you saw the last one, December 4th, 2028, or as soon as the county executive assumes office once again. But the summary is that the board retains legislative and quad judicial powers, appropriate and authorize the expenditure of any and all funds of the county, establish rules and organization and procedure, and establish committees of its members or other appropriate assignments, administrative oversight of the county legislative analyst and the clerk of the board, authorize county councils, apologies, to file or dispose of suits or proceedings on behalf of the county, which concurrence by the county executive. And if the county executive does not concur, disposition of is authorized by 2/3 votes of the board. That changes a little bit of what's going on within the modified board powers as a result of Measure G. And just going into the last part of it here on my end before I hand it off to Nancy is expanding board from 5 to 9 members. I thought this was really important when we were going over the meeting on Wednesday for folks that had attended and for folks that didn't. If you look at this implementation timeframe at the top, this was one of the biggest questions I had when we were kind of breaking down Measure G. The joke I made on Wednesday that I also make here is like, reading Measure G is kind of like reading the Bible. Like every once in a while, you get a new feeling out of it, as far as like referring back. But to make it very simple as far as what this implementation process looks like, in 2030, after the census, there will be in 2031 a reapportionment of kind of what LA County looks like. And then from there, it rises into the different supervisors elected, between 7 supervisors elected in 2032. Then in 2034, 4 supervisors elected, 2036, 5 supervisors elected, and 2038, 4 supervisors elected. And so a summary of this at the bottom here is 7 supervisors elected in 2032 in districts 2, 4, 5, and new 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then 2 new supervisors selected randomly will serve 2-year initial terms. And then going into it a little more, 4 supervisors elected in 2034 for districts 1, 3, and the new 2, basically. And then those supervisors will randomly selected for initial 2-year terms. 5 supervisors elected in 2036, 2, 4, 5, and the remaining 2 will serve initial 4-year terms, and staggering full term elections of 4 supervisors and 5 supervisors in even numbered years going forward. And per the motion, GRTF is to consider. So once again, grounding it in what our job is the staffing and budgeting proposal for those new 9 members. And as we get down this path more, and as we hear questions from you all, I think it's really important to see where exactly our job is in this scope of work. It's very laid out in the measure itself, but for this one in particular, I just want to triple point out that it's staffing and budget proposal for those new 9 members as we go into the rest of this process. And with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Nancy for new positions.
Great. Thank you so much. And I think what we feel here is, and I think something that excited me was just the idea of opportunities for more representation, but also more voices in these different roles of leadership throughout the county. And so I know that that was one thing that was really interesting. So not just the expansion and the county executive, but there are a few other roles. The first one is the Ethics Compliance Officer. This is something that's kind of quickly coming up, so I know those of us on the task force are really looking at it very seriously. Implementation timeframe is 2026, and the new position of the Ethics Compliance Officer will lead the office, the Ethics Compliance Office, and perform duties provided in the charter and by ordinance in the county code. I know one thing that's really interesting about this particular piece, and I think we also just learned in our meeting as well, is kind of that there's a lot of opportunities to build this and imagine it as it also engages with the commission, which I think is the next slide. And so the office, or in addition, there is also going to be a director of management and budget. And so by 2028, when the county executive assumes office, this director will be appointed by and works under the county executive, confirmed by the Board of Supervisors. They will prepare and administer the county's annual budget, advise and provide recommendations to county executive on the fiscal condition, financial status, and future needs of the county, promote productivity, economic development, and efficiency in the conduct of county government, and coordinate and perform additional administrative functions as directed by the county executive. And so this person will be, as you can see, under the county executive, and it's built out this way in Measure G's directive. The county legislative office also will assume or will be appointed. It's a new position on the Board of Supervisors side, and that person will come into their role as of December 4, 2028, or when the county executive assumes office. They'll be responsible for providing nonpartisan legislative support and analysis to the board on county policy issues. Their specific duties must be outlined by the ordinance, which are not subject to veto by the county executive. They may be removed by a 2/3 vote of the board. And finally, the Independent Ethics Commission and the Office of Ethics Compliance. Measure G has us implementing this by 2026, the Ethics Commission. The body will have the power to investigate allegations of misconduct by county officials and monitor and enforce laws in coordination with other agencies related to governmental ethics. They will regularly review the county code and make recommendations to the board regarding governmental ethics, and they will develop and or implement additional updates and features to enable searchable public data portals related to governmental ethics, including all lobbying activities. In the November 26, 24 motion, we have been directed as a task force to consider and propose a structure for the commission using County Council's report on ethics reform, which I know is available on our website, the Measure G website, and propose a public input process to be completed by 2026 as well. And so a really key opportunity for stakeholders to get involved in helping us shape what this will look like. The Office of Ethics Compliance will also go into effect in 2026, and will have the office or the Ethics Compliance Officer as its lead. It will support the Los Angeles County Ethics Commission to accomplish the commission's duties and objectives. And so the Office of Ethics Compliance and the Ethics Commission will work hand in hand for LA County. There will also be a creation of the Charter Review Commission. This one will go into effect in 2034 after all of the Measure G changes have happened. And it will convene at least decennially to review Los Angeles governance structure and county charter, make recommendations to the board, which board must place on agenda for vote no later than 90 days after transmittal, duties and responsibilities set forth in the charter and by ordinance in the county code. The motion of November 26, 24 tasks the task force with proposing a timeline to establish the commission. And I think this is also a product of not having had reform in the county charter for so long. And so this puts this into or as an option so that there will be constant review and opportunity for improvement through this charter review commission. A few of the other changes that will be happening as a product of Measure G will include public budget hearings, which are happening right now, I think. My understanding is they're trying out new ways to create more engagement and transparency about the budget. There will also be 5-day posting requirements by 2026, which will make sure that for regular meetings of the board, agendas of non-urgency will be available and posted a minimum of 120 hours. The November 26, 24 motion also asks the task force to consider proposing a process for departments to present budget requests in public board meetings, including schedules that comply with state law, and propose a process to provide notification to the board offices and departments of the updated filing instructions for board letters and motions reflecting the charter amendment change. And so those are some of the other changes that are happening as a result of Measure G.
Yeah, and I think if there's anything to note before we go into some of just information sharing, where you can reach us and where you can go to the website and such. So a lot of these um, pillars of our work are now in ad hoc committees as well. And a lot of those committees were considering things like how we can more effectively public engage, how we can create these recommendations that have been mandated by us, whether on the staffing budget proposal side, amongst other things. So as you come to our meetings moving forward, we hope you do, please. Um, being able to use those as opportunities to be able to surface any and all thoughts and opinions on any of these aspects of Measure G, and then will be filtered to our ad hoc committees or even discussed in the regular meetings. But just wanted to set that tone. The other thing I'd also like to say too is that we've been in this for 4 months now, out of a very long road ahead of us as far as where we go next. So we're excited about questions to come in a bit. But just noting that we're very, very early on in this process, but we're excited to be able to take any and all information we can to be able to surface it to the rest of our colleagues. And with that, thank you so much for welcoming us here today. Just a quick plug for our website, which has a newsletter, measureg.lacounty.gov. Sign up for our newsletter. You'll be able to see updates for meetings, agendas for meetings, amongst other things. And then our email, info@measureg.lacounty.gov. I personally read this email with the rest of our amongst the rest of our colleagues as well, and including our wonderful staff. So please shoot information, thoughts, opinions, formals, letters. And if you are also interested in being a thought leader or a consultant in any of these kind of particular buckets of Measure G, that's super helpful for us to consider as we trying to gather the best of the best in order to help inform our opinions and structures moving forward. And with that, I will hand that back to Nancy for a little bit of our public engagement section.
Yes, I mean, I think part of this is also us hearing from you. We are happy to engage with any of your questions, but we also have questions of our own. And so now that you've heard about all the different parts of Measure G, what is one thing you want the task force to keep in mind throughout this process? I think for us, we just want to know what's top of mind for you and what you would like to see us consider. I think it helps us bring it back to our colleagues at the task force. We're also looking to engage more. And so we're looking for our like information from you or insights from you on how you think we can make the information from Measure G meetings easier to understand and share. If there are neighborhoods or communities you feel are often left out of county meetings, do you have suggestions on how we can engage with them? What do you want to learn most about the task force's work? And how can we make sure our updates are clear, accessible, and relevant to your communities? And so we're inviting any responses on these questions to help us continue to do this work, especially since we're early on in building those engagement processes. It's a great time to help us think through, but also influence and bring your insights into what could make the community more engaged. And I know that we're in webinar mode, and so you can share some of this information perhaps in the Q&A, but also please feel free to ask us any questions as well.
We'd also like to provide this presentation to you all after as well, so feel free to prompt it from there or send us an email on I'm just going to put up the slide again, website or our email address. Take a screenshot, write it down, whatever pleases you, but we want to chat if you want to as well. But with that, thank you so much, Margo and team, for allowing the space to be able to just walk it through a little bit, and we'd love to start answering questions or just hearing simply what folks are thinking about right now.
Well, thank
I'll
you
stop the
both
slide.
for this presentation. It's very helpful. I got to see some of it the other night when I was watching your meeting, and it's nice to have it organized in a way that we can understand and utilize. I know many of us talked about this measure last fall when we went out and did ballot measures and listed all those different components in the measure. And, we're kind of mind boggled at the vast breadth of the task that you're assigned to. And getting the things done by 2026 is a real challenge. You've got a lot to do. We will be having questions from the audience, and I understand that a number have been submitted. So Fatima, can you please share the questions with us?
Yes. So I'm going to start with what's in the Q&A right now from Terry Newstetter, the president of our League of Women Voters Beach Cities. How do concerns like affordable housing and unhoused services factor into the new government, especially homeless services, since that is evolving as well?
I'm happy to chime in with an initial response. There are At the end of the day, our task force has a very specific task ahead of us that is clearly outlined in the ordinance. And some of those include considerations on suggesting budget and staffing and how best practices of restructuring will suit best. So to be honest, all of that will result in how things like oh, sorry, I was just wanted to read through the question again. All things will result in how affects affordable housing and unhoused services and factoring into all this. So it's basically my answer is that all of what this is happening as far as the changing and creating a more transparent government will result in other changes that happen tangentially. I think our task as our mandate as a task force at hand is to take all the considerations of what concerns you have as a community and being able to surface that to the rest of our colleagues and the executive office as part of that. So if you have a direct concern as it relates to your community, please bring that up and let us know what that is as we can then surface it to the rest of our colleagues. And Nancy, I don't know if you have anything to add to that as well. I just want to create space.
Sure, I think because it's changing so much right now, so much of our work is related to the county executive and the board of supervisors and how that will start to be structured. And so the way that the current issues are, or the housing and affordable housing are in the county structure, will then be mostly impacted where that department goes, which will be on the county executive side. And will then and there will be a lot of engagement. I think this is about really looking at the structure and engaging and finding the best way for it to be both transparent from a budget standpoint and a department engagement standpoint, and then for us to understand the structure of what the new county will be. But I think that's how it'll just kind of all of the departments, so many of these issues will flow into how the county and the supervisors' roles will start to shift.
Okay,
Thank
we
you.
had some questions that were sent in via email. So thank you for outlining the Ethics Commission's powers. Can you clarify how commissioners will be selected to ensure political independence and whether a commission will have enforceable tools like subpoena power or the ability to impose fines when violations are found?
I think
Nancy and I are trying to be are very courteous, so we're like, either
Okay, do you
way.
want to do
it?
I think go ahead, Gabriela. Go ahead, Gabriela.
No, please. Actually, I just wanted to make sure, give you space.
I was just going to say, I think that we're early in the stages of this part, and I think this actually sounds like a very interesting consideration that we will take back to our colleagues who are in that committee. And so I think I just wanted to note that these are the questions that we are exploring now, and any kind of recommendations or even suggestions, wonderings, all of them really help us really think through what we would want it to look like. And so I admit, I think for me, it's about taking this one back to our colleagues and asking them to consider it as we start to make our recommendations. And I think something of note for the task force and the way our task force is structured is we will be making recommendations to the board for board approval. And so they are asking us to really take a look at it, which is why we can also really ask all of you from a public engagement standpoint, what do you think this should look like? And how can we propose it to the supervisors in a viable way? So thank you so much for the question. It is definitely heard and noted, and we will bring it back to our colleagues for consideration.
And also,
Okay.
the only thing to add is I'm part of the ethics committee, ad hoc committee for our task force, and we'll absolutely bring that directly to the committee as well.
Okay, great. We'll go back to the Q&A box. How much of your meetings so far are posted online after meeting is conducted? And where are you posting? Are there any transcripts of meetings being posted? And are public budget meetings being recorded currently?
I'll answer this backwards. So on the public budgets meeting being recorded, so we don't handle public budget meetings. That is not like within our meeting structure, but there are public meetings, public budget meetings being recorded. And I can tell you, because I just watched 75 hours of them for for a public budget meeting ad hoc, to talk about what kind of reform needs to happen to make those a little more structured and transparent for the community. So I would highly recommend going to the Board of Supervisors website and going to the Public Budget Meeting Committee tab, I believe. And if there's a better way I can direct you, feel free to reach out at their info@Measure email. So first, that they are being recorded and they are there because I watched so long of them. And then on the second part, how much of our meetings so far are posted online after meetings conducted, and where are you posting them? On our Measure G website, measureG.lacounty.gov, posts all of our recorded meetings and transcripts there. And if you have any requests on languages or inclusivity needs, please reach out to that email we have. We will respond immediately and being able to address your inclusivity need of any sort, whether it's a language or other accessibility requirement. And then after posted, how long after the meeting? It's usually within the first 48 hours. There have been some meetings where it's been a little longer because of some issues with the initial recording, but we've gotten a lot tighter. And now I believe we've been in our sixth meeting since we started as a task force. So we're continuing to get tighter, continuing to get more opinions. And also one of the big intentions of this most recent meeting is getting a new AV department to help us to be able to focus more on who's speaking at the time. So you're not like kind of lost on who's talking during the moment and such, which actually was a great shout out by Nancy on our squad here, to help the community understand who's actually voicing certain concerns and opinions. And then transcripts of meetings being posted, yes, as well. You're able to see that when you download the video or when you watch it on the respective network on our website.
Okay, great. Another one from email. So you mentioned how to make updates relevant to our communities. You were putting out that ask. Will the task force commit to tracking and publishing engagement metrics such as geographic coverage, language diversity, and participation levels so we can see whether these reforms are reaching every corner of LA County?
I think from a recommendation standpoint, in terms of the metrics, I think we're still finding the best way to do those metrics. And so those are part of our conversations. But I will say, myself included, we all feel pretty strongly about it. So I think we do want to find ways to engage the public. And I know each of us individually are. So even in conversations like this one, we know that part of why many of us were chosen for the task force was because we do have those diverse community touch points. And I think also live in all the different districts, engage in all the different districts. And so the hope is that in addition to some of our more formal calls for public engagement, I know that many of us are also looking to have more informal engagement with the communities that we know. And so trying to find the best way to make sure not just that we're having the conversation, but that there are things available for people to be able to learn about what we're doing and engage in the conversations with us. And so, to Gabriela's point, we are going to have more informational videos available on our website that just kind of learn with us. So, as we have people present and share with us some of their insights around the Measure G deliverables, that we will also post those so they're easy to find and so that people can more easily follow along with where we're at in the process and learn with us if that's something they want to do. And so, I think we're really looking forward to that and looking forward to trying to reach all the different parts of LA County.
Okay, one more question here. With public budget hearings now required and 120-hour posting rule coming in 2026, will the county create user-friendly dashboards and searchable agendas that let residents see requests, amendments, and final allocations in real time and submit comments in advance? These are definitely
I
league
think when
members.
thank you, Fatima. I think when Nancy and I heard this question earlier, we were like, we hope. Like, I think, I think I think this is a good example of a question that's a really strong suggestion that we can take back to our colleagues and such. I think the thing to note is that what transparency looks like at the end of it is people being able to follow along in the process at their leisure, like whether that's more intensive where it's like reading through notes and watching all the videos and stuff versus like, social media updates that they can receive more casually or newsletters. So the challenge ahead of us is thinking about um, how do we reach all the different cycles of an interest of Angelinos, because all this matters to everyone, whether or not you're more invested in local government than others, because it all will react to you. So all this to say, I love that suggestion. We will bring it up to our task force and expand on it a little more.
Okay. A lot of these are transparency and reporting questions. So once the Office of Ethics Compliance is in place, we'll issue regular public reports with data on investigations, compliance trends, and outcomes so residents can track progress towards stronger governmental ethics.
I'm going to echo, I think, what Gabriela said. Like, this question is a really fantastic suggestion that we will take back to our colleagues. I think it's an important thing for us to continue to explore. And so that's, but again, heard.
The league is working on a survey to send to our members on things, so perhaps we can include some of these questions in as well for outreach. If you want to talk in general about what you're seeing, just to combine some questions to see how everyone can give feedback. What are the different ways? Public hearings, online survey, listening sessions. Is it going to be advertised, like formally advertised to the public? And then they're asking, transparency and reporting, how you can have access to it without getting so caught up in some of the websites that you can get lost in.
Yeah, I think this is so Nancy and I are also part of the public engagement committee on the task force, and I think that's a particular topic that we're extremely passionate about, and also probably the most important mandate in regards to our work as a GRTF. I think the reality of our position is that we are not elected officials. Like I am not, voted in from the agenda of like the certain community they represent. It's rather that I am looking for the community of Los Angeles to tell us what we can help gather and streamline together in order to create a more thoughtful, holistic suggestion as we're going down this line. So as far as like moving forward, how we are seeing public engagement happen on on the first part of that, we will absolutely advertise and have sessions to be able to reach to communities of all different sides of Los Angeles and all different districts and unincorporated areas and in incorporated areas. That is like the full mandate and intent of our work here. How that will be advertised and how we will be doing so could be a variety of in-person and Zooms. I think some of our initial thoughts have been thinking about Zoom sessions as a way to create some initial interest, let alone be accessible to folks all across all different parts of Los Angeles. The second aspect is coming to our regular meetings. We are working right now to do more frequent regular meetings in our task force. So that'll leave an opportunity for folks to be able to attend more or being able to have more variety of options to be able to attend meetings. And in those meetings, we love public comment. Please, like that is when you see the agendas posted and when you see something that you're particularly passionate about, come in person, do it virtually, write a written statement before. All of that is going to be very helpful for us. We're going to do down the line on this work. And then third, I think personally, my career is marketing. My career is doing massive campaigns for different brands. And some things I think about um, as a similar parallel to what the work we're doing here is that when you're working with any brand, you are trying to figure out how to best congregate a community and best think about how you are. Um, helping nurture that community. And I think LA is a very, very big community, as you can imagine, as you very well know for that matter. And the challenge at hand is making sure that we are mindfully addressing all the different types of communities in Los Angeles and best representing them. And I feel a really great step into that is how diverse our task force is in itself and how many of the folks here I would have never met personally, let alone have many different ideologies, but we're all here for the sake of civil service to like work together and figure out like shared solutions that keep in mind all of our different walks of life. So all this to say, I feel very strongly that we have a robust group of people that are trying our best to like include all these different perspectives and our goal being to settle on and work together towards solutions that best represent all of LA County for that matter. But Nancy, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I feel like that was great.
I think we have time for a couple more questions. So Measure G touches on many parts of county government, from budget to ethics to redistricting. How is the task force coordinating with other departments to make sure implementation stays consistent and aligned?
I think for me, and some of what I'm hearing from our colleagues in meetings is just sort of making sure we are informed and curious. We have asked to hear from some of the departments, but also get more insight from experts who are familiar with this work on what we should keep in mind as we go. So I know that for me, a lot of the questions around how the different departments interact and hearing from some of those departments is really helpful as we think through what everything will look like moving forward. And Gabriela, I don't know if you have other things to add, but.
No, no, I think that was perfect. I think maybe the only thing to add is we I'm our executive office team, Shadi, Jason, Danny, amongst others, are very good about bringing the people in that they know, like, affect a concern that we have or like will be an important factor in consideration of this. I think what I ask of our community in sorts is like if you yourself feel like you are a person in county government that we should be talking to, or someone in the community that feels like you would have um an informed perspective on how we apply and the dynamics we work in our departments, that's so appreciated. And we please encourage you to like reach out to us and raise your hand. That only helps us in the end.
Okay. What parts of Measure G implementation are currently the highest priority for the task force? And what milestones should the public expect to see first over the next 12 to 18 months?
I think we're really trying to, one of the reasons for the subcommittees is so that we can actually help prepare for our bigger group meetings. And so I will say we are very aware of our 2026 deadlines. And so those are a little bit, those committees are moving faster to help inform the rest of us as we think through what potential recommendations can be for the supervisors. And so some of those things include the budget and budget transparency, 5-day posting, and I would say the ethics office and commission. And so those are the things that are fast approaching into 2026. What's really great is because of the diversity of our task force and the diversity of our interests on the task force, all the long term goals are very present in our conversations as well. I think it's one of the reasons we're looking at meeting more often is we don't want to then get so behind that it'll be hard to reach some of our longer term goals. So we're making sure that that we're all starting to work on the longer term goals of the 2028 deliverables, including the county executive, as well as learning about and thinking through the expansion piece for 2030. And so we are beginning all of the conversations. And so some of these milestones are really, we know what our deadlines are. And I think we know that we have to, or that we are striving to hit those deadlines. And in addition, we also are very aware that we can't ignore the longer term goals. And so I think that we have a great group of people who really want to, are also high achievers, I would say. And so we're trying to hit all of our goals, but make sure that we don't lose sight of long term. So I think we don't have a very official sort of checkbox for our work right now. There are a lot of suggested timelines, but I think for us as a group, we also just want to get it done. And I will say it is one of the best parts of working with this group and this group of not just the task force members, but also the staff that we have is I think there is just a lot of drive towards having the conversations we need to have to do the work we need to do. And so I've really enjoyed it in the last few months that I've been there.
Okay. So we are in a very fortunate position where the president of the League of Women Voters of Los Angeles County is an elections expert, an election system expert. So I would encourage the next, Margo, maybe 5 to 7 minutes, if you want to talk with them about any thoughts that you have on the task force or any questions you have, since you have been observing very heavily on this.
Well, I understand that one of the questions that came up had to do with how the supervisors and the new 9 supervisorial districts will be determined, how they will be drawn, how the those supervisors will be chosen, or the districts will be chosen to help increase representation in LA County. We have a very interesting, in the time that I've been watching LA County, we have gone from the 70s and 80s when we had 5 little kings to the 90s when we had 2 women on the Board of Supervisors as a result of federal intervention, accusing and declaring that LA County did not have fair representation for its population. And at that point, supervisors Yvonne Brathwaite Burke and I'm blanking, Gloria Molinas were elected to represent the 2 major ethnic components of LA County at the time, and that opened up not only the gender diversity, but also the ethnic diversity of the board. And then through the 2000s, we had either one woman or 2. Yvonne eventually retired and was replaced with a male. But now we have, with redistricting, with the Independent Redistricting Commission, with changes in probably public attitude and enthusiasm and achievements by women throughout the county and the nation, we now have a Board of Supervisors of 5 women who also represent some of the ethnic and some of the ethnic diversity of the county. So this has been quite a transformation within LA County. When we expand to 9 after the 2030 census, the responsibility for looking at the census data, drawing 9 supervisorial districts, and in following the guidelines of the Independent Redistricting Commission will fall to that LA County Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, which was established by state law in about 2018 and is now was the commission which drew the lines for this current Board of Supervisors based on the 2020 and 2021 census. The deliberations were entirely on Zoom. You could watch every single meeting, which I did, and a great many interest groups within the county followed the Redistricting Commission meetings very faithfully and provided feedback to that Redistricting Commission. They worked very hard to try to figure out a possible means of creating a supervisorial district that better represented the Asian community in LA County, but with 5 supervisorial districts and the wide dispersal of Asian communities throughout the county, it became apparent that would end up being kind of a gerrymandered situation to draw all the Asian communities into a district that would be easily able to elect an Asian representative. With 9 supervisorial districts, they will have to relook at the entire county and listen to the communities throughout the county. And in 2021, all of this was done on Zoom. There were only 5 live meetings because of COVID. I'm assuming that in 2031, we will be able to have more in-person meetings, but they will all be hybrid, and people from throughout the entire county will be able to observe and participate and offer their commentary to define what they feel is their neighborhood, their community, and which neighborhoods and communities are best related to theirs, so that the districts will incorporate communities of interest that have similar goals and similar attitudes. And it will be a real interesting project to figure out how to cluster people. I'm sure there will be the districts, for one thing, will be a lot smaller. There'll be 1.1 million people instead of 2 million people. So that will help some. And the center of LA will still be carved up as it is now, because that's where the concentration of population is. But it gives more opportunity for different communities to have the possibility of electing someone from their own community. So that's kind of where I think we're headed with this. The Independent Redistricting Commission on the state level has functioned beautifully for 2 different cycles. And having observed the LA one, I think that over the course of the year, they were able to hear from a wide variety of spokespeople. When they had live meetings, they even bused community members to the live meetings. They had to stand outside and wait for their turn to come in because the rooms had limited capacity. You could only have so many breathing people in each room. And it really allowed people to express their needs and who they felt what they felt their community represented and who the community included. So I'm looking forward to seeing that Independent Redistricting Commission function again.
All right, I'll encourage last minute thoughts, any to wrap this up.
I think in the spirit of public engagement, and I think for me, with just my personal hat on, um, I really want I have been very inspired listening to so many meetings. And I think, Margo, to what you've referenced too, like I listened to a lot of independent redistricting meetings, and I learned so much about communities that really care about their representation and how people really turned up to share and have their voices heard. I think that's the spirit of which I am hoping that our task force will also be seen as a place where people can share with us what's important to them, share with us what they would like to see, who they consider community. We will not be drawing the lines, and I think just for clear, we are not the Independent Redistricting Commission. We are mostly just looking at the structure. But I know that so many things around systems are about our communities understanding them, and being able to also name when we're not included in them. And so the hope for this task force is that we bring more of our voices to the table, that you all see us as part of the communities that can advocate for you and what you care about. And part of that is us learning from each other and engaging with one another so we can bring all of those perspectives with us. And so we do want to encourage community engagement as much as we can. I have so many ideas about also not online communicating. I saw that question. But really thinking through other modes. And for our communities, it is about ethnic media and trusted conduits for news. And so, what are the ways that we can engage with different kinds of communication to reach as many people as possible? But I know that because we're in the earlier phases of building it, I just wanted you all to know that's the spirit of which I approach the work, and that I know the way I think is really like, and my excitement for the work is actually fed by the engagement and learning more about communities and what they care about. And so I do hope that everyone here feels like we're here to listen, but also we also get energy from hearing from all of you. So really thank you for being interested in what we're working on and continuing to engage with us. And then I'll pass it over to Gabriela.
Thank you.
Gosh, Nancy, you said so well on so many things, but I think as far as the personal hat on, um, what fuels me about the work is yes, engaging with the community and hearing and being able to like surface concerns. Um, my job every day, I get graded on two things on my like career that I do outside of this work. It is the ability to collaborate with others and then take that collaboration and create clear narrative. And I think it's no different in this work. Our ability to collaborate with our colleagues who are very different from each other and have a lot of different perspectives is essential and crucial to create a properly represented Los Angeles. And for that matter, we are just not even a fraction. We are amoebas in the in the greater scope of the cities of the 10 million people in Los Angeles that we're trying to help represent. But what I would continue to empower our community to do is like, please reach out to us. That is what we want. We want within boundaries, of course, but to clearly outline it. Email, coming to our meetings, coming to our public engagement sessions. We want to create spaces that we can hear your voices and elevate them. And that is the passion of our work, being able to collaborate with each other and then create clear narrative so we can create the best cases as we create these recommendations for the Board of Supervisors. But that's why we're here today. So we appreciate the space so much, and thanks for inviting us to your meeting.
Well, thank you both so much for being here. Having understanding that you have 5-hour meetings when your board gets together, it's it's even worse than league meetings. This is really daunting project, and for some things you have a very tight time frame to get the work done and submitted to the Board of Supervisors. So we are delighted that you were both able to come and explain this process to our league members and guests, and to share your perspectives on how this task force is functioning.
Oh, you got muted, Margo. Apologies.
Thank you. We will definitely be working as a group and as individuals to provide some input as this process goes on. I'm enthusiastic about the idea that you will be meeting more frequently. It might make the meetings a little bit shorter. And that you have at least entertained the concept of trying to host meetings in other parts of the county other than the core. Though my observation from the from this week's meeting was that the Magic Johnson's rec center seems to be a little more of an amenable space than the Patriotic Hall was, or the tech people are getting a little better at it, one or the other.
It's really the tech people. I'll give a shout out to the AV squad we hired for this one based on Nancy's rec like a week or two ago. We want to make, I don't want to say content, but at the end of it, we need these meetings to be able to be heard by any and anyone. So getting better quality video, better quality transcripts, better quality like facing of the camera to the individuals is all part of making this more inclusive for that matter.
Right. I know the first meeting I attended, I didn't know who any of you were. I think I'd met Marcel and Sarah Sadwani. And I'm looking around the room trying to figure out, A, who's talking, and B, who is it? Because the camera person wasn't focusing on their name tag. And we've done so much Zoom that we're used to seeing each other's names on the screen right in front of us all the time. So the system has been, it's improving. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I also
And I
I'm so sorry,
go
Margo.
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
think I was just going to note that we are trying to move the meetings, the regular meetings throughout throughout the county to all the districts. So
Mhm.
right now we're at those 2 locations. We are exploring what other locations around the county can be for both more of our community engagement conversations as well as our
Mhm.
regular meetings. And then it'll, because of the cadence of the time we're together, I think we're together for another 3 years.
Yeah.
Right now we're in, downtown at Bob Hope, and then also at the Magic Irvin Johnson Center a little further south. And then we're going to look at trying to be in the other districts as well. And so if you have any ideas, we'd also welcome those.
Well, the county actually owns a lot of facilities because of the regional parks and all the libraries. So the library meeting rooms tend to be pretty small. Whittier, South Whittier, technically in the county, unincorporated, has a new facility called Liberty Plaza, which would be an excellent place because it has a big meeting room and it's set up for Wi-Fi and so on. So it's one option. I do want to thank both of you so much again for making yourself available to us, and we will be communicating with you because many league members have a lot of interest in what's going on within the county. At